shilly. People behaving in a very shilly manner. Who do you trust with the biggest conspiracy? I'd go with the guy that told you first. No. Not the other two that pretend to be first, but the actual guy who started it all. Because he probably knows where it's going. I would put my bets on him. Don't know if I take a chance on somebody who's pretending to be the guy who started the whole thing, or take my chances with the guy those other two stole their whole position from. That's who I would trust. And I would watch out the fakers. Somebody says they're the leader of the flat earth movement or revolution. Well, what does that make me? You're the leader. The mainstream wants a go-to, so when it gets to the mainstream, they can go, well, this movement, well, who's the spokesperson? So someone self-appointed themselves as a spokesperson. Two gentlemen. Is you use them till you see when they're going to turn or sabotage the whole thing. Ultimately, I see where they're going in their interviews. And I looked at their past, and I've been traveling, and it looks like something took advantage of the fact that I wouldn't be near a stable Wi-Fi signal. I can't do an interview. I'm not. How eager they were to do the radio talk show circuit. So I wasn't going to rush into it. I wanted to see what they were going to say. See at what level. People are acting shilly now. Every day open up the World Wide Web. And it's all adapting to this. The Earth's not a ball. Obviously there's going to be situations set up to take me out. You can't do it like this. Didn't work last time. So they know there's a field of warning around me. A spirit that won't die. And this is the leaderless movement. This is one they won't be able to have phony on TV to speak for all of us. Fortunately, two people showed up, and one of them thinks the aliens did it, and the other one thinks the Jews did it. They've infiltrated this with those two cards, and they've associated me into everything they've done without my consent. One even did a book and cited me and my copyright content for live shows in a book he's selling without my consent. You got it? Okay, so I've been working on exposing two things. A privilege that the aerospace and scientific community have been taking with images allegedly of our universe and of Earth from space, and letting the population and the public think that these are photos taken by cameras. And in this process of exposing that these are paintings and artist renderings and composites and cropped images, I've seen NASA change their tune and redress the images. There's a few images that I'm going to take apart that are in science books that they have not redressed, and they allege are photos. And these are going to be part of the final proofs that the heliocentric model is based on fraudulent images. And we're going to do an experiment with Laurie Ferrari's team out in Florida, where we're going to point a telescope on a telescopic camera, and the boat's going to take off, and we're going to see if it descends below a curve on a flat, plain water surface past the mark that the boat should be underneath the curve. So we're going to take these experiments into our own hands and then do them. It's just kind of interesting how, like, if I'm going to expose that the Earth may not be a ball, and all we got to glue these equations together are lovely paintings, I think that's enough to stick, to wave a stick at the scientific community and start a massive inquiry on why the exploration of the Earth's surface stopped, simply because they showed an image of the globe. And the pattern reaction amongst the public is that you're crazy to even question it. And they've never questioned it since they were 5 years old and shown the picture. So I'm just trying to figure out, how would they take this out? Because this would be the biggest thing, is to expose that the Earth isn't a ball. Well, I've always thought, well, when is this thing going to fuse with terrorism? Through the media, or through alleged fans or supporters or peers that want to get involved and push this query further. When would it fuse with terrorism? I kind of didn't think, but I had my eye open. Also, would it ever be fused with being labeled as racist of some sort or anti-Semitic? How would they take it out? They won't take me out framing me on a lot of things, because I'm pretty squeaky clean. I keep my head out of trouble because this is a big one. And I just slowly saw, since this Hitler sketch came out, me being lumped in with Mark Sargent, Eric Dubé, who both just showed up out of nowhere, cited all my perception exercises and demonstrations. Most of the book that Eric Dubé has written is a compilation of other books sent to him by Paul Beals from Britain, who's been amassing a library on flat earth books of antiquity. And Paul turned on Eric, and I'll read you the passage, to flat earth just a couple of months ago, and myself. He took all these passages from the books that Paul tuned him on, and created a book himself, because nobody was exercising copyright on any of this literature, because it's old and it's flat earth. So we kind of that's just nonsense, right? Paul's been collecting the books, and he sent some books to Eric, and then Eric immediately gravitated towards it. And I didn't know about all this until recently. I've been on the road, and I have not been able to fact check or verify the background of individuals that have suddenly become gurus to this entire movement. I've been on the road since January. It's almost like somebody knew that. I wouldn't have a stable Wi-Fi connection, actually. So I let people in out of nowhere. I recorded them. I even put them in this Crazy Notion, the presentation. And, I was really impressed with Eric Dubé and how he handled things on the radio interviews, although I had certain reservations on why he's going in that way, because he could be taken out by the scientific community on several issues, the way he presents. And then I did a little more investigating, and then I kind of had my guards up, because he did come up out of nowhere. He cited me in a book that he's selling without my consent. I've never consented to him citing my presentations and what I do, or myself in his book. I let it happen. I never consented or knew that he did an edit of my my interviews or anything on my channel. He just did it. And I guess I was kind of like naive, you know, like with something that's as risky as this, saying that, you know what, I think those images of the Earth are fraud. I mean, that's pretty big. So anybody who's willing to even go down that road, I'm open. I certainly wouldn't want to slap somebody back. But as the scope of our outreach on this very fascinating research or questioning is expanding throughout the world, throughout religions, throughout all sorts of communities, it's already an issue that has quite a bit of prejudice and bias associated with it because of intellectual bullying over the last 500 years to 2,000 years. To even like entertain, it's not a ball, you got to be an idiot. And the argument ends there. No debate on, well, what's your proof that it's a ball? Which I would say 75% from my research of the planet don't even know how to prove it's a ball. They'll turn to pictures, but we've already taken care of all the pictures as paintings. There's a few left, and we're going to destroy them as fraud. And then the shit's going to hit the fan. So why would you need to alienate people with such a sensitive topic, even more than the topic is on its own? So when I started seeing a Hitler sketch here, there, some Jew bashing here or there, and then suddenly a Jeff Cash sketch where he's like saying the Earth is flat, Israel did 9/11, with no context, driving around the street. I mean, a lot of people who knew Jeff Cash, you know, he was saying he thought the Earth was flat and all stuff. But when you look at that from a fresh eye, where you don't know they're doing geoengineering, you believe in the moon landing, you're starting to hear rumblings the Earth may not be flat, but then you start seeing it being lumped in with Israel did 9/11. You know, can you prove that in a court of law? Can the Truther movement prove any of their alleged truths in a court of law? No, but I can prove that those images are paintings. And we can prove that we see objects that don't disappear on the edge of the horizon. So we're the psyop on the truth movement? What is the truth movement? What is it? Well, what truths did they bring up? Jinns and leprechauns and Palladians and Anunnaki and the moon's a hologram? What fucking truth is in the Truther movement, Thomas Sheraton? So it's already enough that we have these people attacking us, and now it's unfortunate that we have somebody who's come to the forefront of the flat earth query or debate or movement and has appointed himself as the president of the whole thing, but he's had to make it even more alienating by saying he's a Holocaust denier, that the Jews are behind the whole thing, that there's a Jew world order. I got friends that are Jews, and sure, they wish they ran the world. It's like so many, you know, in their high school yearbook quote, you know, world domination, to rule the world. You know, like any human being, it seems to be their tendency. But I think the fact that I slowly saw the word Holocaust creep in to whether the Earth is a ball, there's something going on here to dismiss the whole thing as a bunch of wackos who are ruining the truth movement, which I don't even know what truth the truth movement is actually pushing. And also, nobody will investigate it. So we've already got an alienating debate going on here in 2015. You don't have any video footage of the Earth spinning in real time as a ball. Time's up. Lovely paintings. Let me go across the South Pole. Why do you have the security perimeter? But this guy's got to say, who self-appointed himself the leader of this movement within 3-4 months by citing and compiling most of my videos, okay, that people have two hang-ups on the greatest taboos. That the Earth is flat, may not be a ball, and the Holocaust didn't happen. And he states, and I'm proud to be a believer in both of them, the flat Earth and Holocaust denial. Some quote like that allegedly. So wow, isn't he set up as a great go-to for the media when this hits the mainstream? They can dismiss the whole thing with the anti-Semitic button, the Jew bashing, the ridiculousness that the Jews are behind it. Now, I have a lot of Jewish friends that are in the news, that are in Hollywood, and obviously they don't run the world. but they're in the media. So if you got a guy who's saying the Earth is flat, and he's a Holocaust denier, well, what do you think they're going to talk about more on Fox and CNN?
Right.
So he knows this. He's now reducing the scope of our outreach. He's alienating everybody in Germany, because people in Germany, it's even illegal to question the Holocaust. So they can't even look at flat Earth now, because it's going to be labeled what, as some sort of Jew-bashing cult? I mean, this is ridiculous. The Jews themselves. Now you alienate the Jews and the Germans, then you're alienating the blacks. And so now his scope of his audience, or the audience of the flat Earth people who will investigate, are white supremacists, Jew bashers, and maybe Muslim fanatics, slowly moving flat Earth to terrorism. I see this as a serious tipping point. I've watched this guy come in suddenly, take control of the whole thing, or try to, or appear to. He's heavily backed. I have my doubts that he's even in Bangkok. I have my doubts based on his accent that he's an American. And so be it. If you're such an American freedom fighter and you're anti-Illuminati, why aren't you on the home turf, buddy? Why are you hiding out in an Asian country?
That's one thing about the tide and tide. I mean, I know very little bit Thai, but just the greeting, Sawadi Ka. I said that to him, and he was like, didn't even know what that is. So
he didn't even know what is that greeting.
Sawadi Ka.
So can you repeat that on camera? The quote that you said to Eric Dubé, who's in Bangkok, has a Thai girlfriend. You said Sawadi Ka.
That's it.
And that's hello, and he didn't know what it meant.
I got no response from him.
You know what? Here I am, like, talking to you guys, meeting you. Antonio, I went to Vegas. I tried to meet up with Ashley in Oklahoma. I've been meeting people along the way, and I've been talking to people one-on-one. They ask me a question. I try to answer it. How many has Eric Dubé met? How many people has Mark Sargent met? Just the people in the Truther movement who've got their little alternative news platform. He's just doing the radio talk show circuit. So.
Well, I mean, I for example, have met 3 people already in Florida who are flat earthers, who, interestingly enough, I would never have met had you not introduced me to them.
Yeah.
I mean, through Facebook. But so I don't know you yet, but I already have met and had coffee with these guys.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but I barely talked to Mark Sargent and Eric Dubé. And then there's people are asking for a round table now with Mark Sargent, Eric Dubé, and Matt Powerland. And it's kind of interesting. It's like, so I got to sit down with these 2 guys who just showed up out of nowhere? Do your round table with yourselves. I was like, oh, so I've got to give 5 minutes to this guy who's, a Jew basher. And then I got to give this 5 minutes to this guy who says, everything's a hologram and don't go poke around the South Pole because it drops off and there's just, pipes and mechanics underneath the Earth's crust. I mean, I got to spend time now with these people talking to them when I'm talking about real issues. So I just find it interesting. These guys just showed up and I got to address them.
Okay, so there's two ways. You ask a question, and the answer, in my opinion, is there's 2 ways to diminish, deflate the flat Earth movement, and one of them, obviously, you touched on, that we're terrorists, and the other one is that we're insane. And so Sargent is in charge of the insane asylum part, where there's like this mechanical thing running the Earth, and we've got this glass globe over the top, and we're Dark City.
Yeah.
And then Dubé is in charge of
terrorism,
littering the entire path to truth with dead bodies of Jews and anybody else that he can lump in there. So, I mean, these guys are gatekeepers. I've watched this over the last 8 years in being a real life truther, a truther. A
truther. Speaking of truth.
Has watched one gatekeeper after another be exposed. Alex Jones is the gatekeeper of the Liberty, Ron Paul, libertarian group, and Rima Labo and her ex-Gestapo general husband, Stubblebine, are in charge of the natural, medicine movement and eat lots of non-GMO stuff. And then, you can just go down the line and you can pick out these gatekeeper people who, like you said, fucking came out of nowhere. Yeah. And each one of them has a well-funded website and organization, and they all got shit to sell. And first thing you see when you hit their website is the donate button blapping in your face. And so...
Yeah, like, he's making money off of citing us.
Different than this guy. This one guy is the leader of this faction, and so what does that make you? That's what you have to determine. That's what we have to determine. What are they going to lump you into?
Yeah, they're trying to associate.
You have to be the one. You're going to have to be lumped into some category of the renegade. You don't believe in any science, you don't believe in any, reality, you just want to make up your own stories and you want to have a cult following.
Oh yeah, that's it, yeah.
I don't know, but...
Yeah. Well, here's the main amiss too. So here's Eric Dubé doing interviews, demonizing NASA as grafting ex-Nazi rocket scientists through Project Paperclip. And then... he's glorifying Hitler or saying Hitler was misunderstood. So something's amiss here, Eric. What is it? NASA's bad because it's got Nazis, or Nazis were misunderstood? I mean, there's something amiss here. Yeah.
It's not even his words. It's all copy.
Yeah. Yeah, so...
And on top of all of that, there's one other thing that I have to say, in my opinion, indicts him seriously. And that is... I have never... What happened?
I hear you.
I've never seen anybody be so on it, so articulate, so well spoken, so ready with an answer as if every file cabinet in his entire brain is open to citing any and everything he's ever read, ever heard about, okay? And without being either an MK Ultra or went to like flat earth school and remembered everything he ever heard, ever.
Yeah, no, he's got all day to do this. Others, the real people have jobs, and this is our philanthropy. So, and these guys are sitting around a table all day, coming up with like, we need to create a character. We need to take over this movement. How do we infiltrate it? So they have all day to think about, creating cult of personality, PSYOP agents like Mark Sargent or Eric Dubé to come into this whole thing. But, they did move it forward. I had a lot of people say to me, well, it's because of those two I found you. And I knew that was going to happen. But sooner or later, the mainstream's going to, they won't be able to ignore it. And they're going to have somebody on the news. And I believe the person they're going to put on, and that's why they introduced this guy, is going to be Eric Dubé, Mark Sargent, because I put this whole thing forward. I've got view counts on certain videos over 1 million, okay? And yet I'm buried on Google. Now, we all know how Google works. It's view count, and you type in the title. You know what I mean? So how is it that I'm buried? It's not a megalomaniac thing. What I'm saying is that these guys are being pushed forward so they can be the go-to for the mainstream media, Fox News, CNBC. So when they go on TV, one looks like a complete fucking militant Nazi terrorist. Can you imagine? They're going to fuse Nazism and terrorism into the flat earth model. This is what I was always worried about.
Well, how did I... Hating of some kind. I mean, if there's going to use... That's the catchword for everything nowadays. Oh, you're a hater, you're a hater. Okay, so he's going to get labeled as a Jew hater, and
no one's going to look at this.
He's going to have to be on these shows is because he's all the reasons I just said. He's articulate. He's calm. He doesn't come off as being, an emotional freak who has
just a quiet psychopath.
Thinks the Earth is flat. Okay. Of course, he's a slam dunk, and then of course Mark Sargent is going to be brought to the forefront because of the opposite reason. He's got this bizarre theory of Dark City with the globe over the.
He's got the Hollywood version.
Yeah. I showed you the website. How can they ignore that?
Yeah, no. So you got one cult of personality cast for the hipster vegans, who are questioning society, the white bread Occupy movement, Anglo-Saxon shit, hippie, yoga, all that. That's Eric Dubé with a touch of fascism and Jew hating. And then you have Mark Sargent, which is the baby boomer X-Files. We never got a good ending to the X-Files.
So the question is, how do we chop these down so we disassociate from these guys?
Well, the thing is that we have to disassociate, unfortunately, unless Eric Dubé goes, whoa, wait a minute, he's right. I'm not an agent. How do I explain this? I'm actually reducing the scope of my outreach to just white supremacist Jew bashers and Muslim fanatics. And I'm about to ruin all of Matt's work, and he's really good from people even looking at this. Like, I'm actually going to put an olive branch out to Eric. Like, dude, maybe you're just young and you were onto this and you've been misguided, but are you kidding me?
Movement in and of itself is its own entity, right? It doesn't belong to any of us. No. We're not leaders. We don't own it. It'd be like saying we own the earth, okay? And we don't. So regardless of that, the reality is when you are involved in a movement, whatever it is, if it truly is grassroots, okay, that means that there's no leaders, there's no organization, there's no cult of personality gatekeepers, none of that stuff. I've made the remark umpteen times about how I can't find any bridge, any thread, any common denominator between all of these different people who are waking up simultaneously, it seems, or like whack-a-mole, like that.
Yeah.
There's one. There's they're popping up all over the place. Okay, but the bottom line is, if you're involved in a movement and you truly believe in it and you truly want to get it out there and you want to bring people in, the first thing is the Hippocratic Oath. First, do no harm, and he's doing harm by associating and bringing in the intensity of Holocaust denying and Hitler loving, well, do that shit on your own time, dude. Don't be taking that in here. That's like coming in and laying litter all over.
He's going to make a...
we got to work up it.
And here's where it gets interesting. He's got to make a choice, and then we start to feed in. Look how they set it up. This is intel. They have all day to do this, okay? Yeah. This is a Jesuit chess. So while we're coming to grips with this, there's all these sites that have started up going, Flat Earth CIA PSYOP. Oh, what PSYOP? All your pictures of Earth are paintings? Okay. Like we're taking apart your moon landing that happened in 1969? Before the cordless phone? Like, what's the PSYOP here in the truth movement? No, but they've been now while we're about to disassociate, and there's been this divide and conquer that's going to happen, where people will be like, no, Eric Dubé's the one who started this, like some people, and Eric Dubé's the president, or I can't believe you're doing that, and then they're not going to really get it, because maybe they're Jew bashers themselves, so I can't believe I might have attracted some. But at the same time that we're about to do this, that we're on to Eric Dubé, you have all these baller sites, Thomas Sheridan, saying the flat earth is a psyop from the CIA. So when we say to Eric, when we say to Eric right now, we say, dude, you got to choose here. What's important? Well, it's going to feed into all these truther shills that are claiming we're a CIA psyop that's dividing the truth movement. They're going to go, ha, see? They're making Eric Dubé choose between the 9/11 inside job conspiracy and whether the earth is flat. Ruining the truth movement and all the truthers in it, taking us down. Taking away the truth about the leprechauns and the jinns and the Jews rule in both universes. I mean, come on. This is so now we're going to feed in.
The Jews control the mainstream media, so they're going to pick Eric to
Yeah.
forward.
And the Jesuits run the whole game here.
They're not going to pick you.
No, of course not. No.
Because we're way too rational.
Rational, funny, right brain, all that stuff, and we're not bringing in some huge emotional hot button they could use to dismiss the investigation. So now we got to figure out how are we going to keep the movement afloat, because we're seeing it before this guy, this agent, goes on TV and everybody goes, oh yeah, he would be the go-to. He's the president of the Flat Earth Society. He's the one who's like kind of leading the whole thing. Oh, and then people are gonna be like, oh, he thinks Hitler was misunderstood. Oh my God, like this is we're going to lose so many people on this because of what this guy did.
Also, think about this also. Okay, I've had people say, oh, Flat Earth is Christian based. It's all a bunch of Bible believers.
And that didn't work.
And then you talk to some Christian and they go, no way, you know, that it didn't come out of the Bible thumpers, right? Okay, and they're like, I'm a Christian and I don't believe the earth is flat. So it's got nothing to do with that. That's the whole point. I've been digging till my fingers are worn down, looking for the one thing or 5 things, anything that I can go, you know, like start like a thing, a chart, and go, okay, well here's a common denominator, and here's one, and let's bring this one. I can't find 5 people that believe the same thing in the whole movement. Not 5 people.
Huh.
So there's no way that this is a government psyop. No. There's no way that this is coming up out of the Christian right wing, because most of them will fight you to death. No, we didn't start this. We didn't do it.
But what kind of government psyop would actually expose that science is glued together by paintings? Like, what kind of psyop? Why would a psyop expose the government?
The truthers, the 9/11 truthers, for God's sakes, are freaking out. Ashley and I went on a truth. What was that?
And what truth do they have? That it's holograms?
I was like, oh my God, these flat earthers are this government psyop. Their whole purpose is to wreck the 9/11 truth movement and make us all look like crazy conspiracy theorists. And I'm like, what?
It was the Truth Be Told page.
There wouldn't even be a 9/11 truth movement if it wasn't for truthers like me and like Ashley and like anybody else who says 9/11 didn't happen the way they said it did.
Yeah, well, it didn't happen the way they said it did. But like when they start saying it's holograms and all that nonsense.
Solve the riddle just like you can't solve the riddle. Just like James Corbett can't solve the riddle, and he's done it in 5 minutes. Okay? Explain the whole thing.
Yeah, but they don't have anything that goes to court. They don't have anything that goes to court.
Go to court just like JFK's assassin never went to court. Okay?
Yeah.
They know how to control the Sandy Hook, the Boston bombing, any of these psyops that have happened have all had enough of their own garbage dumped into it, okay, to make you not be able to figure out how they really do that.
Scatter and confuse.
Most people believe if you can't tell me how they did it, then you're wrong, okay? You have to be able to prove how they did it. No, I don't. I only have to prove that the way they said they did it didn't happen that way.
Yeah, and then that's it. And but equally, everything's a lie. They lied about everything. Oh, but not the shape of the world. It's amazing. So they're all psychopaths. So psychopaths are running the planet according to people like Thomas Sheridan, and he's an expert on psychopathy. But they wouldn't lie about the shape of the Earth and the moon landing. That was the excuse to get the picture.
Too big.
And I sent him the perception test because he alleges that he's a painter. And it's just images that look like photos and images that look like paintings and paintings that look like photos and photos that look like paintings. And it's just like a test until you get the space images where your perception has a core meltdown like you wouldn't know. And it's like, so where's the psyop in that? Where's the psyop in that?
Let me tell you, let me throw this out there, because I had a guy come in my group and say to me, or wrote in a post, a thread, that you were given all this information that you have about paintings versus photos, from NASA that they told you that the information that you have, okay,
to go and do that.
That you took it and you are like that fucking gatekeeper. I'm the guy.
Yeah, no, that's not. That I can assure you. I'm the little troublemaker. I'm the little troublemaker with the OCD for ethics and realism. That's all I am.
Yeah, but the whole thing is that Matthew Powerland is the guy who started the whole thing about the psyop about are they paintings or are they photos? You.
Well, psyop is a psychological operation. So it is a psychological operation in the sense that we're doing a massive accumulation of data on at what level people know their own scientific model of globalism, and they don't. And at what level people can scrutinize an image, and they can't. And they'll just continue to believe that it's a ball, but everything else is a lie, but not that one. No, that one too. That one as well. Sorry. That's the one where all the lies can operate. The container.
They lie about our wars. They lie about our food. They lie about our.
But not the Earth as a ball.
They lie about chemtrails. They lie about cancers. Cures for cancer. They lie about the economy. They lie about the banks. They lie. What? They don't lie about the Earth.
Okay. So here's the deal. Okay, I understand that. It is not just up to you, but it is partially up to you because he has used your material to put him on notice that some of the other more important names in the Flat Earth movement have questioned his integrity as to why he finds it necessary to muddy the water.
On Coast to Coast, Mark Sargent said that the host asked him, well, what about aliens? And he started talking about the portal at the Bermuda Triangle and how they got in through there, or they'll come through there.
Where does he get this information? Like he gets I'm very pragmatic with this whole thing.
Be the go-to guy for disclosure, and I've been saying from the very beginning that when disclosure happens, they're going to lump Flat Earth in with it, okay? When alien disclosure happens, it's going to be, to keep the chaos from ruining everyone's lives for the last 50 years, we've been doing the space program, and we've been doing, all of the things that we've had to do to keep the big secret. Because if everybody knew, it would change the way they thought about the world, okay? Mm-hmm. And so now we're going to have to disclose that, in fact, there are aliens, and they are among us, and they've been among us forever. And we have to do everything we can to keep peace with them because they can completely take over our Earth because it's got a big bubble over the top of it. And they've been living down there where the machinery is, and they've been running everything. I mean, holy crap, I can totally see where these sons of bitches are going to go with all this.
If they need to, they have Mark Sargent there. If the Eric Dubay thing doesn't work, to dismiss the whole thing. So they got Eric Dubay there to just dismiss the whole thing. And if we actually take care of Eric Dubay like we are now, then it's like, okay, all that's left is Mark Sargent. So let's do the alien thing. Mark, you're on. So it's like, so right now it's like we could still save the ball by just discrediting Flat Earth as a bunch of anti-Semitic wacko terrorists. I mean, how lame is that? Like, that's the only card they have. I know they're at their last cards.
But we can't just take out Dubay. We got to take out Dubay and Sargent.
Both have to go out.
Everybody else who's posing as a gatekeeper.
No, we have to reset this. We have to reset this.
Eric can't go, oh, look, all the big fat other truther Flat Earth people got together and they're ganging up on me, and it's little old me, and I'm gonna do some yoga, and I'm gonna
bash the Jews.
Psych myself out of it. I mean, he can snap. He can spin this any way.
I could see his day: Wing Chun, yoga, Pilates, Jew bashing, yoga. I mean, like what's? It's like
how much money he's made off of his quote copy
Yeah, he's made money taking all the books that Paul sent him and citing me to fund his infiltration of my work and these people from antiquity. And then hijack and crush it.
He started studying when he was in his 20s. How old is he?
He's 33, so he's going through his Jesus complex.
So he's trying to make it sound... Oh, that's just wrong on every level, but that's okay.
Do you understand? Yeah. His uncle's a Mason, you know.
Because he needs everything he can to bring himself into the same amount of time that you've been doing this, so that you cannot be the oldest guru.
No, but he's a liar. Paul sent the shit like something like 7-8 months ago, and he showed up pretty quickly.
It's how he spins it.
See, Alex Jones is with Time Warner now, so they need a new Alex Jones. And anyways, the idea here is to just to reduce the scope of our power, our impact on this issue with all races, all nations, all peoples, as all of them have been deceived by paintings. It's about resetting it back to Columbus. I imagine back then Columbus was called a quack and a crazy. I'd like to see the globe they showed back then in Columbus's time, where America was just water. You're crazy, there's nothing there, look, it's water. Or it was a strip, a square, and the sun went around Europe and Russia and Asia, and they're like, it's just, you're gonna fall off, you're a nut bar. And then he had all these people around him, you're gonna go where God sits. Oh, you're gonna go to the, you know, all this wacko shit I get every day on the phone. Dude, they're just preventing you from exploring the surface. That's it.
Right.
We're just resetting this back to peaceful exploration of our earthly surface, which is flat.
Okay, so
that's it.
So I feel like one of the things that should happen very strongly is we need to decide at some moment that we're gonna get on script and we're going to be ready to put out some kind of a message that we all agree on, because I don't know how many other flat earthers are all sitting around talking right now, right?
Oh, they don't even know that he's setting us up for the fall.
Well, I know. So what we need to do is, just like you said, we need to cut him off at the pass.
Yeah, well, this here, I'm gonna, edit and upload, and then we got to figure out, because it's pretty much like within about a week or two, this guy's going on like CNN or ABC. I'm not fucking joking you. I see them coming in with, we're dividing the truther community pages and forums, and now we're going to be, that whole accusation that the flat earth is a psyop to divide the truth movement, when we disassociate ourselves from Eric, all those pages that have been set up to say we're a psyop to split the truth movement, they're going to use us disassociating with our own as an example of the psyop of splitting and dividing the truth movement. So they've already set it all up on us. You understand? This is called intelligence.
I totally do. And so we're not just playing chess. We're not just playing Stratego. We're playing that fucking chess game that
we have to call it
Risk.
We're playing that chess game they play on Star Trek with the levels.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just a flat. It's
and, Captain Kirk used to play where people are moving around on different levels. I never quite understood how that worked, and they never actually explained it. But that's what they're playing. Exactly.
But you know what's interesting is that I talked about this. See, I called it. So I've already called all this. What we're going through right now, I called it. There's a segment in this Crazy Notion about the disinformation process and mechanics. And an agent is sent out into a movement, and his job is to set up a platform, have a voice, have a blog, have a page, attract using and citing all the same arguments you're using, but then at one point, invert it at a certain point, adhere it to one thing, or insert something that discredits the whole thing. In this case, Eric Dupé did that. He did that. He did that. He set up his platform. He used me. What?
You know, not everybody believes in aliens. So Mark Sargent with his alien and his enclosed world thing that doesn't hurt anybody. You know what I'm saying? That's just his own opinion or his own thoughts or his suppositions. But that doesn't have a global taboo associated with it.
Right, not like the Holocaust.
Not like the Holocaust.
Exactly. And I've maintained what I could shake a stick at. George Lemaitre, the godfather of the Big Bang Theory, the mentor to Einstein, is a Jesuit priest. So I shake a stick at that. And Nicholas Copernicus is a Jesuit priest. The Pope right now is, I believe, the first Jesuit Pope, or he's a Jesuit Pope.
Yeah, he's a Jesuit.
Yeah.
Admittedly.
He's
Yeah.
the first Jesuit.
Yeah. So this is stuff that I could shake a stick at, and science is from the Jesuit order or the Catholic Church. And the papacy was ordered by the royals to come up with a calendar for the farmers, and then henceforth, well, we need an idea of the shape for time. So time zones according to, if you're going to talk about time in a calendar, then we need, what are we on as a shape? And the Jesuits provided all this. This is a fact. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's a fact. The paintings of the earth are paintings. These are facts. This is...
So what about the 750-year-old round what is that thing sundial in like India or somewhere? The 750-year-old one, right?
Yeah, that works with the sun.
Oh,
That's
India.
for time. That's to discern time. They've been trying to discern what time it is in every place in the world forever. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they've always been able to apparently keep time without GPS and faked out time zones and globes.
Yeah,
Okay? They've
yeah.
always been able to do that. They
Yeah.
didn't need a globe to do time.
Yeah, exactly.
The stars are for that. The sun, the moon, and the stars. That's why they...
Yeah, you don't need a globe to navigate the ocean.
No, you don't.
A matter of fact,
you don't need a globe
you'll get
to do
confused.
anything.
You'll get confused if you use a globe to navigate the ocean, you know, in nautical miles. So, so in the end, I think it's just kind of like this powwow what we're doing here. I'll tell you this though, because you know, back to this leaderless movement. If you don't have a leader of a movement, they love that because they're like, oh, there's no leader to this. All right, let's assign a leader to it. Go in there, boy. Control the whole thing. So there's a lot. I like the idea of a movement that has no leader, and sooner or later we have to have that with something, and I believe it's this.
No, we actually don't. We never ever.
No. I said a leaderless movement. Hold on.
We only ever need to have like a website.
Hold on. You misunderstood what I said. I think that this movement is that. It's the one movement in humanity that does not need a leadership. However, when leaders come in, like self-appointed people, and then the public thinks this is the go-to, and then Google is an accomplice to this and optimizing their name on the first pages before a guy who even posited the argument. This is a thesis that I'm putting forward here too, you know? So, and then he's making money off me. I'm not. I'm losing money on this thing. This guy's making freaking money. He's actually funding his whole psyop inside this whole thing to discredit it by citing me. So there's only one political structure that worked besides the American Constitution and this separation of powers, which I love, but it's been infiltrated by, you know, the trilateral, Central Intelligence, and the Federal Reserve. Those are the three that supplant judicial, legislative, and executive. So they put those three in there to supplant the original three in the American Constitution. The only other system of politic that actually worked, and it was a dictatorship in Rome, where there was a council of 6 individuals who were all elected by the people, and those 6 each would have would be in control of the council for 2 years, and then they would rotate. But the 6 would change through the public being able to vote for the 6. And it was the most efficient political entity ever known. It was during the Pax Romana in Rome, 200 years of peace, a lot of progress in building, a lot of like no corruption, and it was a council. You know what? You know what runs the same way? The UN Security Council. There's got to be some form of leadership, but not the pyramidic kind. The pyramidic kind is like, if we want to control the movement, all we do is tick off the guy at the top. Poison him, assassinate him, use the media to turn his own people against him, discredit him, you know, get him in bed with a hooker, whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? So you just tick off the top and then put in your puppet. But with the council, you can't do that.
Right.
And that's why the UN works that way. You have to apply the scientific method. I really believe in the scientific method. You know, like the scientific method is 5 independent bodies get to, okay, there's a thesis on energy or thesis on the planet. Well, 5 independent bodies that are not connected, there's no collusion, get to take the same thesis and run it through the same criteria of experiments. We were not able to do that with the Earth as a ball. We can't go across the South Pole. It's staged tourist excursions. You can't take a flight. We can't go up in space.
Ways to prove anything. You either got to go to space or you got to circumnavigate north to south.
Yeah, north to south.
The only way you can prove a ball.
Yeah, and they're not letting that happen with individuals of 5 different bodies that are not connected. So science itself doesn't apply the scientific method. The basis of science is the Earth is a ball. That's how energy works in physics. So science itself doesn't even apply its own scientific method for the heliocentric model. So we have to apply it because science isn't. I'm like, this is what they're doing here. They're gonna use this to dismiss everything, and I'm gonna look bad with my good friends who are Jewish, my clients who are Jewish, people who believe in me who are Jewish, people who are Jewish who are actually looking into this going, oh my God, like, thanks a lot, Eric. Thanks, Eric. Why'd you do that? Why'd you do that? You just reduced the scope of our reach towards humanity to look at this most important question to reset exploration of the Earth's surface. The globe is a picture. That's a painting you've never seen that controls your world.
Got that on tape.
Major clue into this guy is a double agent, and then I got a link on that. And I have another link where Eric Dubay, the New Ager. And then just to explain as best as I can, this is from our researcher. A video evidence of him doing the symbolism with his hand is extremely a sign of his allegiance to another faction. Stars, supermodels, government officials, CEOs, officials do this hand sign right in your face. Also, what color pattern they wear for clothing is very important. These subtle but very obvious signs is a 6-6 sign of negative power. Another thing, he is very aggressive and pushing really hard to call out on all other shields. On all others as shields. Mm-hmm. So I mean, these are just little points that she was putting, but there's a lot of links here that basically go with what she was talking about.
Yeah, well, I
sent you all of that stuff. So
yeah, I'll take a look at that. The Mark Sargent, Eric Dubay both showed up on the scene. Eric a bit before Mark, although Mark was obviously working hard at making his 14 videos to be all released in 1 week. And where he got the copyright authority to have all those images for his PowerPoint presentation, following the zeitgeist, loose change sort of, debunk controversial conspiracy, film, like the same, the zeitgeist formula. He showed up at the same time, and Eric attacked him. I believe that was all a psyop of theater, so I would align myself with one, and I didn't want to be involved with either because I suspected both. But Eric was actually putting out proofs. But it's interesting when you look at it as like, this guy's putting out some good proofs, this guy's putting out speculation, but it doesn't matter how many proofs you put out. If you're about to discredit the whole thing by, coming out as a Jew basher, you really ruined it because you put out proofs on top of it.
Right.
So this is so yeah, their whole fight was part of the make me align with either, and
right.
it was to make one look genuine.
it was also for the purpose of establishing each one of them with their own cult followers.
Yeah, exactly. Scientific method, and I think the scientific method, in its rigorous soundness, if applied to this, is our checkpoint. It's our supervisional criteria to go, this person's off point. This person's diverting. We're trying to basically, challenge why there's a security perimeter around the South Pole. Why are these all paintings? And why do I see the boat still on the horizon? Point. Your maps are all incorrect. They're all off. What's going on here? So, there's lots to eat at here. When people start getting into all this speculation about the Bermuda Triangles, the way they go in and out, I mean,
every time you try to bring the message into a point, you're going to lose people. You need to keep it as broad and as open and as simple as possible. And you start speculating and opinionating and coming up with, this is what I think it is, or this is, I sat and listened to an interview with Eric where he went on to this thing about, I think we're all a dream of the creator.
Yes.
And we don't actually exist. We were just manifested little dreamscapes of the creator. And I thought,
well, that's Mark Sargent.
I don't know about you do, but when I stab myself with a knife, it hurts.
It hurts.
I don't think that's, a dream.
Yeah, and if it's raining too much or there's no rain, shit doesn't grow. So that's not a hologram.
No, it's not a hologram. It's real. It's as real and as corpulent as you can imagine that it is. And if you want to believe in some, dreamscape from the creator, then go right ahead. You're entitled to do that. I mean, you're totally entitled to.
I could only imagine what they were saying.
The more you say weird shit, the more messier the whole thing becomes, and that
the less scientific it becomes. Yeah,
I don't believe that, so I can't be an Eric follower.
Can you imagine what they were saying back with Columbus? There's even less land. Can you imagine the crazy shit they were coming up back then? Probably the same freaking thing. I always go back to, Columbus had nobody to sanction him. He couldn't even get the throne in Italy, and he was Italian. He had to go to Portugal and get her to give him right of passage and sanction, right? They knew there were people here. It's just that the guy who had money and iron and ore and gold in Europe, he didn't want somebody to go and find more gold and iron because then the price would drop. So they had a nice little fenced-in area of people that they were slowly turning into their lackeys, servile, brainwashing them with the idea of how much land there was, And then this guy's saying, no, there's more. Well, what do you think they were saying to him? And how much bullshit esotericism was coming in?
Well, and the whole thing is you can't create a scarcity for the future if, you don't start it now. They have to start sometime.
Yeah.
So the whole paradigm operates on scarcity.
Scarcity.
And so in order to create scarcity and value so that we can make fake money and we can trade each other with it someday, then they had to start the control.
There's only this amount. I know. Yeah, we're on the same board. Yeah. And then there's all the other questions that, like how does the sun work and all that stuff on the South Pole, second sun, do some research. Anyways, we should wrap it up, and because I'm going to run out of camera. But I mean, are you guys still there? Antonio, I'll see you in Vegas. I'll call you later on. And then Lori, you're meeting everybody for the Florida experiment when, Tuesday?
Tuesday.
So now I'm dividing the truth movement. Well, then it boils down to, what's the big truth that you learned that ties everybody together in a truth movement? What are the truths? How many are there for each event? Which one did you pick? Is that the truth? How much of that truth wouldn't hold up in a court of law? It's not even evidence. It's not even admissible. Those images of the Earth as a ball and space are artwork. Fight me with your mind, please. How silly do you think I am? Out here 40 days. See you just crawling. I'm supposed to make a pact. Someone who says Hitler was misunderstood. He's operating my videos. He's managed to get more view counts on me than me. Something is afoot here. And now I'm associated to him in this nonsense, this garbage. Please. Don't bring crumbs to my table. Poison and crumbs. Tried to divert the debate. Be interesting to see what you have left after that, shill. Or psyop. See, he's defying the truth movement. I told you he's not a real truther. And the truthers out there that think the earth is flat, nut jobs. Well, what do you believe in? Leprechauns? Fairies and jinns? 9/11 was done by quicksand? Listen, buddy. You never responded when I sent you the perception test. What's his truth? See? You can see a curve while you're on a sphere. Alluding to you being on a cylinder. People still don't get that one, huh? They're that dumb. If you're on a big massive orange, you spin around, it's a sphere. So even on a sphere it looks flat. So when some idiot takes you out to the ocean, he's got a curve here. He's got a very curved here. And we're retarded, we're stupid, move on. Don't deal with us. Because you know there's something going on. Because you're just mad you didn't see it first. You're supposed to be so, quick on the deception. Sorry. You might as well investigate, transform now. Because everybody will, when you see the boat on the horizon or the telescope, or anything else. Go and study, look. The more time you spend on the wrong side of history gives me more ammo for comedy in the future after I succeed. It's back when y'all thought I was spinning and you're on a ball spinning around the sun. Wait till that becomes funny when I find more land. All that land. And a fence. All the way that way. The fence continues. Right? Like somebody laid down wire that effing long. Somebody laid down wire along this entire stretch. Down there. Like on both sides. All the way down there. And then we're so stupid. We think, yeah, well, we fenced off all the pristine nature and landscape. No. No. We didn't fence off ourselves from having people go in. We're fenced in from going out there. They fenced you in like chicken. think it's the animals in nature that's fenced in. No. It's you. Because you're not allowed to cross this fence. Get it? That's what this is about. This goes on and on and on and on and on. You're fenced in. You're fenced in here, just in your own country. You're fenced in. You think they fenced off the nature. No, they fenced you in. Proof is, you go across that fence, they gather you like an animal in a barn. You get fined. You get tagged maybe. You go to jail. If you get out of your, if you try to escape your jail. It's government property, it's military property. You can't go on that. It's military property. Okay? Everything outside of your fence, the South Pole, is patrolled by 47 nations working so hard to keep you out. Unless you come in on a sanctioned cruise ship or like an organized flight that just goes on the coast but doesn't go north, south. So you got your choice between your two gurus. You got one, believes in some Luciferian god or overlord outside of a dome, floating with like mechanics, so your X-Files appeal. And then you got the other one, who has a problem with Jews. Wow, how about neither? Because neither were there in the beginning. Both just flooded in as this movement took off with just me positing the argument. You only got paintings, and I'm a painter. So I'm not a guy doing yoga that suddenly says I'm an astronomer. I'm not a software guy who suddenly says, you know what? The earth is flat. I'm a painter who saw them fake the earth as a ball and make you believe they were photos. And I forced their hand to redress all those images as artist renderings. I did that. Composite. I'm making NASA stay honest. So that leaves what percentage of images you see are authentic photos taken from a camera proving the earth is a ball? Well, there's very few left, surprisingly, with all the toys they have up there to take images. Still, no video or film of one spin in 24 hours real time of the earth completely as a globe. 2015, and we don't have that yet. They faked it like they were going to put cameras up there back in spring 2014. They failed. No, there is nothing. Instead, on their channel on TV, they'll say stuff like replay of Space Station Live. And that's just black background with some sort of metal arm. Do that in a water tank, do that up in space, low orbit, do that wherever in a studio. That's flat. And then you have a painter calling out all of science being backed by paintings. So who's the real McCoy here? I'm a painter that's exposed. They're all paintings. He showed up out of nowhere. I've had brief communication with him. I really like him, like just his presentation, but I can't. He's a liability. See, what's going on here is he's a liability. He's risking the rest of the world examining this by putting this little hot button lock on this thing. Totally. He knows what he's doing. And the worst is he cited proofs, and now he's going to try to put this label on it. Somebody in the media goes like, so you don't believe that the earth is a ball? I heard you also, you don't believe in World War II happening. like, you know, they're gonna like play with him.
Well, of course, he's like.
So I heard you don't believe in World War II as well.
well, Hitler's cool, but NASA's not.
Is that it? NASA's not, or the
Which
Nazis aren't. Like, watched him come in, and I said, you know what? Even if he is a shill, because he's citing me without my consent, and then he suddenly ingratiates himself, I gotta watch this play out. I have to see how somebody's going to come into a movement, because then I'm going to learn about the Occupy movement. I'm going to learn about the Arab Spring. I'm going to actually start to corroborate my thesis, even though this is a real-time exercise, exercising your mind.
Oh, totally.
So he comes in, cites me, ingratiates, sucks my ass, talks to me, talk a little. Now he's on autopilot. I mean, he's got people like on threads from posts he did like 2 months ago. Like the guy's on cruise control.
He's the only one that I know.
Self-appointed leader in 2 months.
Making all these books.
What was it, like a month and a half he comes in, and then he's like self-appointed leader? Paul Michael Beals gave him all these books, okay, less than a year ago, according to I have the Facebook, here's the screen cap. You see it? You see what it says here? You see what it says here?
Yeah.
Ha ha ha. I turned Eric on to the Flat Earth by going on his page. Come in. You know, let's find out who doesn't like us. You go in, say you don't like us, you're one of us. Then they'll actually feel comfortable to not like us publicly because you're one of us, you know, attacking us. This whole ploy. Then he comes in, he's got his alter ego I didn't even know I was friends with.
It's prep work, you know?
And then I'm Jewish, so I can do this. I'm like, well, not really, because it's like hatred against the group.
No, but I'm just saying it's prepping them for the go-to guys, you know?
Yeah, so when it goes on the news,
he's in there.
that's like, you guys don't like, apparently you think Israel's behind it. And the whole thing looks like a whack job. And then you have Eric Dubé so certain and calm in a yoga manner saying, you know, all this stuff about World War II, mixing it with Flat Earth.
And yet,
oh, the World War II card is coming back up. Oh, so the alien card and the World War II card. The two fucking things they keep playing in the movies.
And then
alien card, World War II.
Yeah.
Into Flat Earth.
And this is just,
so people can have their preconceived little
this is my
fucking...
yogi sign. My yogi sign. But yet I have an uncle who's a Freemason that I hate. That I got beef with. No, really. They have a lot more resources now. But
what are they going to do?
But just
let's call their cards.
They're going to spend more paper money.
So it's going to be a bunch of people like going around putting up videos suddenly demonizing me. Yoga guy just weaponized Flat Earth. He just put this extra layer of prickly so people don't feel like they can pick it up and play with it and entertain themselves with the notion.
Because
now it's got this whole label of anti-Semite. That's the interesting thing here is like
they're hiding everything.
They're hiding everything.
They hide behind lies. They hide
hide Antarctica.
They put fences up.
They hide land.
Yeah, they're probably hiding people in civilization.
They fake maps.
They're probably hiding animals. They're probably hiding
like
all
people,
kinds of...
other border treaties, other suns, other celestial bodies, more surface. They're hiding everything from you in plain sight, they say. Mm-hmm. Nothing like the best, that's the best place to hide something, in plain sight. In plain sight.
In the plane. With their offense.
And that's the other thing too, is if you're a globalist, you believe that there's a curve, the earth is a ball, you can't say stuff like that anymore. You can't say it's like, it's hidden in plain sight. You have to say it's hidden in curved sight. Curved, because there is no plane. You're on a ball, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
And here's another one you can't use. Plane of existence. You can't say that. You're in a ball of existence. You're on a ball, buddy. You're not on a plane. You know? Even on a plane, you think you see a ball. So you're not on a plane of existence. You're looking at the ball from the plane. So you're on a ball of existence. And level-headed. That one's out too. You can't be level-headed. You're curved-headed.
Yeah, they gotta change their whole lingo.
They have to adapt. They still haven't adapted with their language.
Yeah, they create this ball, but yet they want to keep sticking to the plane.
Yeah. You know, they're not even on a level playing field. They're on a curved playing field. That's why it's so difficult.
Be on the level.
Be on the level, no, be on the curve. That seems risky. On the edge of a curve? I'd rather just be on the level, a flat level.
They just have a lot more resources now. But
Well, what are they gonna do?
But just spend their
let's call their cards.
They're gonna spend more paper money.
So it's gonna be a bunch of people like going around putting up videos suddenly demonizing me.
Totally.
And you know what they're gonna say? They're gonna say they knew we were all gonna wake up to the flat Earth. So they knew it was just a matter of time. So they decided to short circuit it with Math Powerland. So they put him out first, right? Before we would wake up, to make us think that he was waking us up, or he came up with this and he's a real guy, because they knew we were going to wake up sooner or later. So they put Matt Powerland in position so that he could take out the whole thing by taking out Eric Dubé. Unbelievable. On top of it, he plagiarizes people so he could bash Israel in the flat Earth movement. Yoga guy just weaponized flat Earth. He just put this extra layer of prickly, so people don't feel like they could pick it up and then play with it and entertain themselves with the notion. Now it's got this whole label of anti-Semite, or terrorist, or extremist, or psycho-wyco. He is the king of the shill. Came in beyond our lines, our defense lines, popped up out of nowhere. Well, my defense lines were built like a long time ago. I've been laying out the barbed wire and the booby traps on my channel. Like little sketches to see if they're gonna pick on that, to see if I'm legitimate. I put those up. Part of me in my back of my head was like, this is gonna be a channel. And then when this starts to become something big, I wanna see how they attack the other videos, that I'll know who's who.
With Simon, because he got shut down. He was putting up these excellent memes.
What do you mean he got shut down?
This is how it started. First, some information came about Antarctica. About the Flight 370 being
Yeah, I heard about that. Malaysian Airlines, the first one.
It was on
It was en route to Antarctica.
From that's what it said on this
is what's going on
article on Daily News.
Daily News. Is that a real news?
I'm not sure. I mean,
Is this true? Did you read it?
I just skimmed over. I seen the
The
article.
Malaysian Airlines went off course, heading directly for Antarctica, and then it was taken out?
Well,
Or it went missing? Or
I
it's
don't
in
know.
Antarctica?
It might be in
They didn't find it yet.
We're talking about free scale semiconductor.
But they're talking about Antarctica.
Free scale semiconductor. All these scientists loaded, like what, 300 scientists or something like that. And on top of that, they had a Bitcoin, digital money, of millions on a flash drive, and boom, all of a sudden it gets missing and whatever. There's memes going up about it. As soon as this meme goes up, the account goes down. I'm like, holy smokes, what's going on? I get in touch with Simon, and we start discussing about this, and we're talking about how really this is about being fenced in and how there's more land and more resources, because basically it's what Columbus was doing. You know,
can just come into the frame here a bit.
He wanted to, you know, he knew there was more land. His wife had lineage to Eric the Red, this Viking, and they had maps.
You're talking about Columbus's wife.
Yes.
Was a descendant of Eric the Viking?
Eric the Viking. This is
Eric the Red.
Yes. This is what
One who found Canada and all that, Newfoundland.
Correct. This is what Simon said he read in a book.
Was this like an autobiographical or fictional?
I have not. I
based on?
I don't know. But the point of the story is what he read.
This is feeding everything that this is my entire theory.
What he read was that Christopher Columbus started sleeping with the queen.
Which queen?
The Queen of Portugal. And because everybody was turning him down. He wanted to go see if there was more land.
This is how this happened? Because somebody banged the queen? That's how we found America?
Yeah.
Because the rest fucking knew.
Yeah.
And he had the maps.
Yeah, so she's like, prove it to me. Prove it to me. And he goes and he proves it. And now we're doing the same thing.
So which queen do I have to bang? So you take a good look on a map at how close Russia is to Alaska. Okay? And you can see how everybody was brainwashed. Back then they didn't have TV or images or planes, so it was a lot easier to control them. But imagine being on the foot of the beach of the coast of Russia, looking and seeing the land, and going, that's land. And then somebody comes to you and is like, you don't see land. That's a mirage.
Found this photo from from Grandmere State Park. This is from Joshua Nowicki, and what you're seeing here is a mirage. We typically would not be able to see this from the Lake Michigan shore. We talked about this last night. Conditions are right on the lake that we're actually seeing a mirage of the Chicago skyline. Very interesting here. Here's what's happening. This is a good example of a superior mirage. So Joshua was on the Lake Michigan shore. He was looking towards the west, and Chicago's beyond the horizon. Should not be able to see it. However, with the right conditions, we have an inversion. We have cold air. We have an inversion. We have cold air near the cold lake water and some relatively warmer air above it. This will bend the image of that skyline back towards the viewer. And so typically we would not be able to see this. This image would be viewable for is a mirage.
No, I see land. No, you don't. That's a mirage. I mean, just take a look. Take a look at how close Russia is to Alaska. You're standing on the beach, coast of Siberia. I mean, they knew Russia existed because they found China. They were doing spice trades with China and India, and heroin, back then. I'm talking about like Marco Polo time, you know? So you're on the beach of Russia, and you're like, hey, is that a chunk of land? Somebody came up and said, no, you're not. You're not seeing anything. No, that's land. No, you don't. No. That's land. That's the coast.
Is a mirage.
No, that's a mirage. Get back over there in your fence. And it takes a lot of balls to say the earth is flat. First you gotta take the ball from them, and I took the ball. I got the balls. I'm running with the ball. I'm not playing ball with them. They tried, they offered me all sorts of things. Wink, wink, shut up. We'll give you a big contract, go hotel. I'll take the deposit. No, I'm not shutting up my mouth. Because I'm an artist, and you've got paintings to back up science. I believe in the scientific method. Scientific method means, okay, if it's true, there should be 5 independent, non-collusionary, non-colluded, non-associated, independent, scientific or scholarly bodies that can take your tests that you use to prove it's such, and then apply those tests and come out with the exact same result. With the Earth as a ball, we have Russia and the US. It's not 5. And they're all colluded. It was the US first that went and got the picture of the ball. Russia started faking some nice pictures too. Wow, nice ones. The Russian ones are even, your artist team should talk because they're a little too different here. The ocean water's tweaked a little too blue in the Russian stuff. Anyways, if you need me to fake anything for you, just ask. You know, I know you want to go to Mars. I'll take you to Mars. I know all the ways you could fuck up. All the ways you could fuck up. And if I don't fake you going to Mars, I'll be there to watch who's faking it for you, and I'll take it apart. Nicholas the Tsar wanted to actually build. This is what gets good. Blow your mind. Nicholas the Tsar actually wanted to build a bridge that would connect Alaska to Russia. In 1905, in 1905, it's 55 miles I know there's tunnels way, way deeper and longer on this very Earth section than 55 miles. Can you imagine? I'd be able to drive my car from California to South Africa. Digest it. That's the only strip or section and distance preventing the whole world to be one, or this section. 55 miles. I could drive from California, Oregon, Washington, British Columbia, Alaska, Russia, China, Middle East, top of Africa, down to South Africa. Everybody would have been connected. There'd be no East versus West. When they're playing that little game. The whole point of Columbus was to make a bridge, marine bridge, a connection, a trade connection, to connect the whole world, if it was a ball, or connect at least this big circle. And they played on this east-west thing as a card for a reason. They're not going to bridge the world, the east and the west. I mean, it's 3:50 p.m. in Alaska, Tuesday. It's 3:50 p.m. in Russia, Wednesday. All you gotta do is travel 20 minutes, and I'm in the future. How would that affect markets? Got there before you, so I bid on the pork commodity or the gold commodity. There's an illusion going on here with market force of real estate. You have to understand how time zones are applied to a globe model. To understand how a very few, hiding behind religions, hiding behind nation states, corporations, money, central banks, are about to use this east-west divide as the last card for the last war. I mean, it comes in threes, doesn't it? World War I, World War II, and World War III. Like a trilogy. Like The Empire Strikes Back, Lord of the Rings. 3, brainwashing you. Always 3. And that's the last one. Then they're gonna build the bridge and the tunnel after they've wiped out 5 billion people, because they fear that if they actually built that bridge right now, you guys would just eat up the whole freaking planet, or this section of it. So they don't build it. They wait, because they got one more little divisory card to play. East-West, China-Russia versus the US and Europe to play. But there is no East and West on a flat Earth. Even on a ball, there's no East and West. It's an illusion. There's no up and down in space, right? Unless it's flat, because they keep showing you the up part and the down under part, telling you it's down under. Well, no, there's no up and down in your model, so why do you say up and down? Unless it's flat, like it is on the UN flag. That's the flat Earth on the UN flag. You blow your mind about that. 55 miles. And you know how hard it was to get that photo where you see Alaska from Russia? Clearly, there's not a tip or a bottom of those mountains that's concealed by the curvature of an Earth that's a ball. There's none at all. No. You see the ice leading up that's frozen on the water, and you see the base, the top of those Alaskan mountains. Right? So, something's amiss here. The fact that you didn't even see how close they are. You don't even look at how close Alaska is like a form of brainwashing. East-west. And yet, on a ball, it's right there for you to see. something's afoot. Something's seriously afoot. And TV and film is like a spell. They cast. Well, they divide and conquer. And they finally implant a little tracing, tracking biochip in you, aftermath, post-World War III. Is it going to be because they're going to say the moon landing didn't happen? That's pretty serious, but it's a growing pain we must go through. Look, it's only been 50, 60 years. We've been inhabiting the surface for way longer than science could even calculate or fathom or speculate. So it's nothing, it's a hiccup. Devalue the dollar and you know what? That'll increase tourism. Finally, people from the third world can come visit America and the Grand Canyon, go to Las Vegas, spend money. Our exports will be cheaper, people will afford them. We'll have our manufacturing sector again. Relax. We're innovative people, we're the smartest people on the planet. We created the United States of America because we are the rebels against the monarchs and the oligarchs. We are the rising middle class of this earth. And there's some people that are jealous because they can't do a thing with their hands or their minds. They've just inherited wealth. They're blue blood lackeys, right? They don't know what it means to build and create with the mind and the body. They walk around, drink tea, talk about the latest thing they bought from me or anybody else that is a creator, a transformer, an innovator. And yet they run the show. The show, of course. You take a good look at that. A lot of division in the camps, and I'm starting to see that there's two self-appointed gurus to my movement. One's an X-Files speculator, the other guy's an anti-Semite. They're both going at it before I even had a chance to decide who's who. Who's theater, so either would look legit and trick me into allying myself with one. Well, I went with the one with the proofs, but I knew sooner or later that guy was going to turn into a Nazi fascist weirdo. I'm sorry, but too young, too immature. I'm the one who paints the paintings of the galaxies, and I do these floors, and then I take a little section, and I send it off, and then they make a galaxy. And they sell it to the public in the newspapers.